Hi there, second video on our early ancient relatives. So I've done a timeline across the top of this whiteboard. So just look at the red and the blue at the top here to start with, and then I've got some details about each of the species. So we're going from 6 million years ago to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1. So first up, 6 million years ago, we've got that Oran species, which I call OT for short. You don't really need to remember the name, so that's the one that's the first original ancestor, we think, breaking off from the chimps. Then today we're going to learn a bit more about Australopithecus ramidus, and so that was about somewhere between 5.8 and 4 million years ago. Then we get on to the Australopithecines, and so they, unfortunately, lots of words begin with A. So we've got Ardipithecus over here, then we've got Australopithecus, and then there's three species in there: Anamensis, Afarensis, and Africanus, and that's in the order of how long ago they lived. Hopefully you can see that all right. So Anamensis was about 4 million years ago, Afarensis 4 to 3, and Africanus 3 to 2 million years ago. But there was some overlap between them, probably, we think. And it's the middle one, Afarensis, who is Lucy, the famous skeleton that is the missing link, as she's called. And then even more recently is the Paranthropus species, that's Robustus and Borzii, who died out and didn't seem to lead on to other human-like species. So if we go back here to Ardipithecus, hopefully you can see this. So Ardipithecus was the one in the man, half-naked man seen in the video, who had human-like hands but still had ape-like feet. So Ardipithecus was bipedal but was also arboreal, meaning living in the trees, so doing a bit of both. Was quite short, quite chimp-like, so about 1.2 meters tall, and had a small brain still, a brain about the size of a bonobo's brain at 350 cc's. So was barely bipedal, but had already developed those human-like hands. So hands where the thumb was much longer, and we have the precision grip with all our fingers, can do lots of manipulation because that thumb is longer and can reach over. We've got a much more flexible muscle here in our thumbs that can do all these things, whereas the monkey grip that was off to the side and much shorter and could basically just grip onto branches. And also probably much more sensitive fingers as well. So the key thing with Ardipithecus is still living in the trees a bit, but is beginning to be bipedal, but already has quite a developed hand. Okay, next ones. Australopithecus. So the Lucy skeleton we'll just start with, but all these are fairly sort of similar. Remember, it's a trend going across. So Lucy is now fully bipedal. So we're somewhere between 4 million and 3 million years ago. Still quite short and small. So males were probably 1.5 meters tall, females 1 meter tall. Brain is a little bit bigger than Ardipithecus, so we're now sort of somewhere between 400 and 450 cc's brain size. That's about the size of a chimp's brain. But also, it's quite small still, remember. Gracile means now becoming, instead of being sort of stocky, becoming a bit thinner and taller and leaner. We think that these species did scavenge meat when they came across it. They weren't hunting, but if they found some meat, they would eat it. And what have I got down there? Oh yeah, so features that make these species fully bipedal. So the Lucy skeleton, the pelvis was bowl-shaped, keeping all that body like over its centre of gravity. The valgus angle of the femurs were there. Feet are now changed, so now has an arched foot, and that big toe is now in line with the other toes. So unlike Ardipithecus, now the feet are showing full bipedalism as well. And the foramen magnum is halfway between, so not right at the back of the skull like the ape-like ones, and not right in the middle like us, but halfway in between. And then the final grouping here is the Paranthropus species. Now these, even though they're later on in time and they have a bigger brain, so they're showing that trend, they then actually died out. So they're not often talked about so much, but interesting to see the ones that didn't evolve into us. So there's two main species, Robustus and Borzii. and they are robust. So unlike the gracile, sort of lean, upright physique of the Australopithecines, these were quite sort of stocky, was it animals, as well as our animals, and they had a really big skull with big teeth. They had a larger brain as well, but they're still quite small at 1.2 metres. So these are all a sort of similar size, but these ones had a larger brain, but they only ate vegetation, so they're complete herbivores, whereas these were omnivores, and that's why they had these massive molars. And in fact, they were nicknamed Nutcracker Man because their jaws were so powerful with these teeth they could probably crack through nuts. But possibly because of their purely vegetarian diet, or for some other reasons we don't know, they didn't evolve past this stage. So that's all your ancient species. Have a look at the pages in the biozone that show the trends and the species, but just all those A ones are the ancient ones. So we're becoming bipedal, hands and feet are changing, and then we're going to move on next time to the Homo species. There's quite a few different Homo species, and they're the ones that are starting to develop tool use and doing some more interesting cultural things, and brains get bigger and we get taller. Yeah, so hopefully you're enjoying it so far. I've put a link to a really good video about the finding of the Lucy skeleton, and a slightly longer one as well if you're interested. Okay, bye for now.